Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the animated text video number 4 with my lab number 2. We're going to continue on where we left off, continuing to animate letters out of the bird's head and apply some additional settings with this section of the lab to get you through the rest of the tutorial. So last we went ahead and started animating that letter I. Now we're going to work with the letter M. I'm going to select my selection tool. And I want the letter M, first of all, I'm going to place its starting point to be on top of the I. Now, at the end of this video, we're actually going to place the bird and the hat on top of the letters, and we're going to do that by changing the stacking order by moving these layers to the top of the stack so that the bird comes to the front view. But for now, I think it's a lot easier to work with the letters on top of the bird just for placement. So I want this letter M to start somewhere around frame 45, and I went ahead and locked layer I and unlocked layer M. I'm going to insert my motion tween, and I want this one to last 10 frames. So the first thing you notice is when I go ahead and click in frame 55, I don't see the letter I. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to extend the letter I through the end of the animation. So in selecting frame 100, I'll press F5, entering that blank keyframe, and that extends the tween without doing anything to it. So that's the first thing. Let's maximize the screen. So there's that first letter I. The second thing I'm going to do is before I place the endpoint of the letter M, it'd be really nice to line these letters up easier. So what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the View menu, turn on my rulers, and then if I just click inside the ruler, I can actually drag a guide down, and it works the same way as it works in Illustrator and Photoshop, any program that you have rulers and guides. And then I'm going to go ahead and just click again in the last frame. I always like to make sure I know where I'm clicking. Grab my M, and I'm going to place it kind of up higher above. That way I can zoom in with my zoom tool, and with it selected I can kind of place it. And if I want, with it selected, I can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to just really get it into place. Double-clicking the hand tool zooms it back out. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my selection tool to apply an arc and the sub-selection tool to modify the Bezier curve so it really looks like it's coming out of his head. Drag that down and then click in the between. This time I'll double-click on rotation to show that you can either scrub or you can just type a number in. I'll choose clockwise. Scrubbing the timeline, I can start to see how my animation is being built. So at this point, it's always a good idea to save the animation, and I'll go ahead and test it so I can see what's happening. There's the bird, there's the hat, and there are the letters. Now you can see the letter M disappeared, but the I is still there. That would be because we haven't inserted that blank frame in frame 100. You'll also notice how the letters appear on top of the bird, and we want those eventually to be behind the bird. So I'm going to go ahead and close the window, reminding you again that this is called the Bandwidth Profiler. You can find it under the View menu, and that just allows you to watch the animation and watch the frames progress as the movie plays, which is really helpful when debugging projects if you ever have some kind of error or it's not working right. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to go ahead and insert my F5 in the last frame. And then one thing I want to make sure to point out is you want to make sure to embed the font inside the movie. If you're not using a common font like Arial or Times New Roman, if you're using a really decorative font like I have here, you want to make sure that your movie appears exactly the way you want it to appear. So what you can do is you can embed the font inside the movie. That way the computer the movie runs on won't substitute a generic font. Now I actually had my history panel open here. The history panel, just so you guys know, records every step that you do inside one instance of editing a movie so that I can go backwards in time and undo. Control Z will undo the last step, but the history panel let us go all the way backwards in time. So here I have my library panel back in focus. And I'm going to come up here to the text menu, font embedding, and then I can just choose the font name, Turkey Sandwich, and click the add new font, click OK, and then you'll see the font appear in the library at that point. And then you'll go ahead and continue animating, staggering the start points down the timeline. The last thing I wanted to remind you is you can go ahead when you're done. I'm held the Shift key down to select all 3 layers, and I can drag those to the top of the stack. So now the letters, when I play my movie, actually appear behind the bird's head. Of course, we can still see the other letters because we haven't animated them yet, but you can see how that works. So make sure you move the layers at the very end of this part of the tutorial. I'll see you next for adding action script to the movie.